The war had been going badly for 3 years. Every week brought news of another planet falling to the Zarathi Empire. The insect-like aliens swept through space like a storm, destroying everything in their path. Their ships were fast, their weapons were powerful, and they never seemed to run out of soldiers. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the briefing room on Earth's military base, looking at the star maps on the wall. Red dots marked Zarathi territory. There were so many red dots now that the map looked like it had a disease. Blue dots showed coalition worlds, the good guys. There weren't many blue dots left. "Commander Morrison," said Admiral Brown, walking into the room. "I have new orders for you." Jake turned around. Admiral Brown was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. The war had aged him quickly. "What kind of orders, sir?" "You're getting a new ship, the USS Blackstar. It's different from anything we've built before." "Different how?" Admiral Brown touched a button on the table. A picture appeared in the air showing a strange-looking ship. It was black all over, with sharp edges that didn't look like normal human ships. "Our best engineers worked on it for 2 years. They used ideas that the other alien races said would never work." Jake studied the picture. The ship looked dangerous, like a weapon that was alive. "What makes it special?" "It learns. Every time it fights, it gets smarter. The computer systems adapt to new situations. And the weapons, well, you'll see." "Who's my crew?" "I picked them myself. Lieutenant Amy Fletcher will be your tactical officer. She's the best we have at reading enemy movements. Chief Engineer Bobby Martinez can fix anything that breaks, even in the middle of a fight. And Communications Specialist Lisa Chang has a gift for understanding how aliens think." Jake nodded. He had heard of all 3 officers. They were good at their jobs. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow. Your first mission is simple. Escort a supply convoy through the Kepler sector. The Zarathi have been attacking our supply lines there." The next morning, Jake stood on the bridge of the USS Blackstar for the first time. The bridge was different from other human ships. Instead of straight lines and right angles, everything curved and flowed together. The walls seemed to pulse with a soft blue light. "Welcome aboard, Commander," said Lieutenant Fletcher. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. "The ship is ready for departure." Jake sat in the captain's chair. It felt warm, like it was alive. "Take us out, Lieutenant." The Blackstar moved away from Earth's space dock. Jake watched his home planet get smaller through the main screen. He wondered if he would ever see it again. Chief Martinez's voice came through the speakers. "Commander, the engine systems are running perfectly. This ship has more power than anything I've ever seen." "Good. Lisa, any word from the convoy?" Communications Specialist Chang looked up from her station. She was a small woman with long black hair and quick fingers that danced over her controls. "The convoy is waiting at the edge of the Kepler sector. 12 cargo ships with supplies for the colonies. Set course for the meeting point." The journey took 6 hours. Jake used the time to learn about his new ship. The computer showed him things that amazed him. The Blackstar could change its weapon settings based on what it was fighting. Its armor could become harder or softer depending on the type of attack. Even the shape of the ship could change slightly to move through space more efficiently. "Commander," said Fletcher, "we're approaching the convoy." On the main screen, Jake could see 12 large cargo ships waiting in empty space. They looked helpless and slow compared to the sleek Blackstar. "This is Captain Roberts of the cargo vessel New Hope," came a voice over the radio. "Are you our escort?" "This is Commander Morrison of the USS Blackstar. We'll take you safely to your destination." The convoy began moving. The cargo ships were so slow that the Blackstar had to hold back its full speed. Jake felt like a wolf, walking with sheep. 2 hours into the journey, Chang's face went pale. "Commander, I'm picking up 6 ships on long-range sensors. They're moving fast and coming straight for us." "Zarathi?" "Yes, sir. It's a hunting pack." Jake's heart began beating faster. He had fought the Zarathi before, but never with a new ship and crew. "Fletcher, what are their numbers?" 6 attack ships. Each one is bigger than us with more weapons. Can the convoy escape? No, sir. They're too slow. Jake made his decision. All cargo ships, this is the Blackstar. Jump to hyperspace immediately, we'll hold them off. Commander, said Captain Roberts, you can't fight 6 ships alone. Just go. That's an order. The cargo ships disappeared in flashes of light, jumping to safety. Now the Blackstar was alone with 6 enemy ships approaching fast. Martinez, give me full power to weapons and shields. You got it, Commander. Chang, scan their ships. I want to know everything about them. They're using standard Zarathi attack formation. 3 ships in front, 3 behind. They'll try to surround us. Jake smiled. The other races always said humans were crazy in battle. Maybe. They were right. Fletcher, target the lead ship. Let's show them what the Blackstar can do. The enemy ships opened fire first. Red energy beams shot through space toward the human ship. But something strange happened. The Blackstar's shields didn't just absorb the attack, they seemed to study it. The ship's computer analyzed the enemy weapons in seconds. Interesting, said Martinez over the radio. The ship just figured out how their weapons work. It's already adapting our shields. Jake grinned. Return fire. The Blackstar's weapons were unlike anything the Zarathi had seen. Instead of simple energy beams, the human ship fired smart projectiles that changed direction in flight. The lead Zarathi ship tried to dodge, but the projectiles followed it like hunting dogs. The enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire. 1 down, said Fletcher. 5 to go. The remaining Zarathi ships spread out, trying to attack from different angles. But the Blackstar moved like it was dancing, spinning and diving through space in ways that confused the enemy targeting computers. They can't figure out our movement pattern, said Chang. Their computers expect ships to move in straight lines. Humans don't do anything in straight lines, Jake replied. The battle continued for 20 minutes. One by one, the Zarathi ships fell to the Blackstar's adaptive weapons and unpredictable movements. When the last enemy ship exploded, Jake's crew cheered, but Jake wasn't celebrating. He stared at the wreckage floating in space and realized what they had just done. They had announced to the galaxy that humanity was now in the war, and the Zarathi would not ignore that message. Chang, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the convoy is safe. Yes, sir. And Chang, yes, Commander. Tell them the real war is about to begin. The news traveled fast across the galaxy. A single human ship had destroyed 6 Zarathi attack vessels without taking any damage. The coalition forces couldn't believe it. The Zarathi Empire was furious. Deep in Zarathi space, War Queen Sektar listened to the battle report. Her compound eyes glowed red with anger. She had been winning this war for 3 years. No one had stopped her fleets before. Find this human ship, she ordered her admirals. Destroy it. Admiral Zakth stepped forward. He was the War Queen's best hunter, feared across the galaxy. His black shell was covered with scars from 100 battles. I will take 20 ships, my queen. This human pest will not survive. 20 ships for 1 enemy vessel? The humans are unpredictable. I will not underestimate them like the others did. Meanwhile, Commander Jake Morrison sat in his quarters aboard the Blackstar, reading reports from across the galaxy. Every message told the same story. The Zarathi were hunting for his ship. Commander, came Fletcher's voice over the speaker. You need to see this. Jake walked to the bridge. On the main screen was a long-range scan showing 20 red dots moving through space. They were spread out in a search pattern, checking every system between Zarathi territory and human space. That's a lot of ships, said Martinez from his engineering station. They're looking for us, added Chang. I've been listening to their communications. They're led by someone called Zakth. The other Zarathi seem afraid of him. Jake studied the search pattern. They're smart this time, not charging in like the last group. What do we do, Commander? Asked Fletcher. Jake thought for a moment. We do what humans do best. We make them come to us. For the next 2 weeks, the Blackstar played a deadly game of hide-and-seek. Jake would attack a small Zarathi patrol, then disappear before reinforcements arrived. Each time, the ship learned something new about enemy tactics and weapons. The ship is getting smarter, Martinez reported after their 5th ambush. It's not just adapting anymore. It's predicting what the enemy will do. How is that possible? Jake asked. The computer is building a model of how Zarathi think. Every battle teaches it more about their behavior patterns. Chang looked up from her station. Commander, I'm detecting a large force moving toward the Kepler ruins. 20 ships, led by a vessel with a unique energy signature. That's him, said Fletcher. Zaxth. Jake made his decision. Set course for Kepler Station. It's time to end this hunt. Kepler Station had been a coalition research facility before the war. Now it was just twisted metal and debris floating in space. The Zarathi had destroyed it in their first wave of attacks. Perfect, Jake said as they approached the ruins. Chang, can you hide us in that debris field? Already working on it, Commander. The wreckage will mask our heat signature. The Blackstar slipped into the ruins like a shark entering a reef. Broken pieces of the old station provided cover while they waited. 20 ships entering the system, reported Fletcher. They're moving in a search formation. On the screen, Jake watched the enemy fleet spread out among the debris. Admiral Zaxth's flagship was easy to spot. It was larger than the others with extra armor and weapons. He's being careful, Jake observed. Sending scouts ahead, keeping his main force together. Smart, said Fletcher, but he's making one mistake. What's that? He thinks he's hunting us. Chang's console lit up with activity. Commander, I'm intercepting their communications. They're using a central command frequency to coordinate their search. Can you jam it? Better than that. I can feed false information into their network. Make them think we're somewhere we're not. Jake smiled. Do it. The battle began slowly. Chang sent fake sensor readings to the Zarathi fleet, making them think the Blackstar was hiding in the wrong section of debris. While they searched empty space, Jake positioned his ship behind a large piece of wreckage. First target, Jake said quietly. The ship on the far left. It's isolated from the others. The Blackstar emerged from hiding like a ghost. Its weapons fired once, and the Zarathi ship exploded before it could send a warning. One down, Fletcher reported. 19 to go. Admiral Zaxth's angry voice came over the radio in the Zarathi language. Chang translated. He's ordering his ships to close ranks. He knows we're here now. But the Blackstar was already gone, hidden again in the maze of wreckage. The human ship had an advantage the Zarathi couldn't match. It could think like a human, acting on instinct and creativity rather than following set patterns. The second kill came 10 minutes later. A Zarathi ship moved too close to a large piece of debris. The Blackstar was waiting on the other side. The enemy vessel died in silence. He's getting angry, Chang reported, listening to the communications. Zaxth is calling us cowards for not fighting in the open. Let him think that, Jake replied. Anger makes people make mistakes. The third and fourth kills came within minutes of each other. The Blackstar would appear, fire, and vanish before the enemy could respond. Each time, the ship's adaptive systems learned more about Zarathi tactics and weaknesses. Commander, said Martinez, the ship is doing something new. It's predicting where the enemy will move next. Show me. On the tactical display, Jake could see probability paths showing where each Zarathi ship was likely to go. The computer had learned to read their behavior patterns. That's impossible, Fletcher said. No computer can predict random movement. Zarathi movement isn't random, Chang explained. They follow doctrine. Their training makes them predictable. By the time Admiral Zaxth realized what was happening, he had lost 8 ships. His remaining fleet was scattered and confused, jumping at shadows in the debris field. All ships, form on me, he commanded. We attacked together. But the Blackstar was ready. As the remaining 12 ships grouped together, Jake led them into a trap. He flew toward a section of debris that looked like open space but was actually a maze of broken metal. The Zarathi ships followed, trying to corner their prey. But in the tight spaces between wreckage, their superior numbers meant nothing. They got in each other's way, unable to use their weapons effectively. The Blackstar moved through the maze like it belonged there, its adaptive systems adjusting to every twist and turn. One by one, The enemy ships fell victim to precise attacks, from unexpected angles. When only Admiral Zakth's flagship remained, Jake finally showed himself. The two ships faced each other in open space, surrounded by the wreckage of the Zarathi fleet. "You fight without honor, human," came Zakth's voice over the radio. Jake picked up the microphone. "We fight to win." The final battle was brief. Admiral Zakth was a skilled warrior, but his ship was built for straightforward combat. The Blackstar was built to adapt. When the Zarathi flagship exploded, Jake felt no satisfaction, only grim determination. "Chang, send a message to the Zarathi War Queen." "What should it say, Commander?" Jake looked at the debris field around them, the remains of 20 enemy ships. "Tell her we're coming." As the Blackstar left the ruins of Kepler Station, its crew knew the war had changed. They were no longer the hunted. Now they were the hunters, and nothing in the galaxy was prepared for what that meant. The message reached Coalition Command 3 days later. A single human ship had destroyed 21 Zarathi vessels without losing a single crew member. Admiral Brown read the report twice before he believed it. "Get me Commander Morrison," he ordered. When Jake's face appeared on the communication screen, Admiral Brown could see the change in him. The young officer looked older, more confident. War did that to people. "Commander, your mission parameters have changed. We're giving you free rein to attack Zarathi targets of opportunity." Jake nodded. "What kind of targets, sir?" "Supply convoys, communication stations, fuel depots. Hit them where it hurts. Make them afraid to leave their home systems." "Understood, Admiral. We'll make them pay for every planet they've taken." The USS Blackstar began its campaign of terror against the Zarathi Empire. Jake and his crew struck fast and disappeared before enemy reinforcements could arrive. Their first target was a supply convoy carrying food and ammunition to Zarathi forces on the front lines. 12 cargo ships with 6 escorts, Fletcher reported as they watched the enemy formation from long range. "The escorts are standard patrol vessels," added Chang. "Nothing like what we faced before." Jake studied the tactical display. The ship's computer was already showing him 3 different attack patterns, each one adapted from their previous battles. "Martinez, how are our weapon systems?" "Better than ever, Commander. The ship learned something new from fighting Zakth's fleet. Our targeting is now 30% more accurate." "Good. Fletcher, I want you to try something different this time." "What do you have in mind?" Jake pointed to the tactical screen. "Instead of attacking the escorts first, we go after the cargo ships. Make the escorts choose between fighting us or saving their supplies." It was a new kind of warfare for the galaxy. Most civilized races followed rules about combat, attacking military targets before civilian ones. But humans understood that war was about more than just destroying enemy ships. It was about breaking their will to fight. The attack came without warning. The Blackstar appeared behind the convoy and destroyed 3 cargo ships before the escorts could react. When the Zarathi warships turned to fight, Jake had already moved to the other side of the formation. "They're trying to protect the remaining cargo ships," Fletcher observed. "Then we make them pay for it." The battle lasted 15 minutes. When it was over, the entire convoy was destroyed. The Blackstar had taken no damage. "Chang, did you record their distress calls?" "Yes, Commander. They were calling for help right until the end." "Good. I want the Zarathi to know what happened here." Word of the convoy attack spread quickly through Zarathi space. For the first time in the war, their supply lines were not safe. Ships began traveling in larger groups with more escorts, but that only made them slower and easier to track. The Blackstar struck again 2 days later, this time hitting a communication relay station on the edge of Zarathi territory. The station was lightly defended with only 4 guard ships. "This is almost too easy," Martinez said as they approached the target. "Don't get overconfident," Jake warned. "The Zarathi learned from their mistakes too." But the attack went perfectly. The station was destroyed, cutting off communication between 12 Zarathi systems. The guard ships were eliminated before they could send a warning. "Commander," Chang said after the battle, "I'm detecting something interesting in the station's computer core before it was destroyed." "What kind of something?" "Communication logs. The Zarathi have been having problems with some of their subject races. Several worlds are reporting unrest." Jake smiled. Fear works both ways. If the Zarathi can't protect their own supply lines, how can they control conquered planets? The campaign continued for 3 weeks. The Blackstar hit 17 targets, destroying supply convoys, fuel depots, and communication stations. Each attack was different, using tactics the ship had learned from previous battles. But the real change was happening inside the ship itself. Martinez made a discovery that amazed everyone. "Commander, you need to see this," he called from the engineering section. Jake found Martinez staring at a computer display showing the ship's neural network. Lines of light connected thousands of processing nodes, creating patterns that looked almost like a brain. "The ship isn't just learning from our battles," Martinez explained. "It's sharing that knowledge with every other human military vessel through quantum communication." "What does that mean?" "Every time we fight, every tactic we use, every enemy weakness we discover gets uploaded to a central database. Other human ships can access that information instantly." Jake stared at the display. "We're not just fighting a war. We're teaching humanity how to win it." The implications were staggering. While other races fought with the same tactics they had used for centuries, human forces were evolving with every battle. Each victory made them stronger and smarter. "There's more," Martinez continued. "The ship's computer has been analyzing Zarathi behavior patterns from all our encounters. It thinks it has found their critical weakness." "Show me." A new display appeared, showing the structure of Zarathi military organization. "They're too centralized," Martinez explained. "Every decision has to be approved by higher command. Cut off their communications, and their fleets become helpless." Fletcher joined them in the engineering section. "That explains why they performed so poorly when we jammed their command frequency at Kepler Station." "Exactly. The ship recommends we target their main communication hub. It's located in the Vega system, heavily defended by at least 50 warships." Jake studied the tactical data. 50 ships is too many for us to handle directly." "Not directly," Fletcher said with a smile. "But what if we don't have to fight them all at once?" Over the next few days, the crew planned their most ambitious attack yet. Instead of hitting the communication hub directly, they would lure the defending fleet away by attacking multiple targets simultaneously. "The ship's computer has identified 12 critical facilities in nearby systems," Fletcher explained. "If we hit them in sequence, the defenders will have to split their forces to respond." "That's a lot of ground to cover," Chang said. "The ship can handle it," Martinez replied. "Its new navigation systems can plot jump coordinates faster than any other vessel in the galaxy." The operation began at dawn, ship time. The Blackstar jumped into the Altair system and destroyed a fuel depot in 3 minutes. Before the local garrison could respond, they were gone. The next target was a supply base in the Centauri system, then a communication relay in the Wolf system. Each attack was swift and precise, designed to draw defenders away from the main hub. "It's working," Chang reported as they jumped to their 4th target. "I'm intercepting Zarathi communications. They're sending ships from the Vega system to investigate our attacks." "How many have they sent?" 20 ships so far. That leaves 30 defending the hub." "Still too many," Jake said. "We need to draw away more." The attacks continued. By the end of the day, the Blackstar had hit 8 targets across 6 systems. The Zarathi fleet at Vega had been reduced to 15 ships as commanders scrambled to protect their remaining facilities. "Now we have a chance," Fletcher said. 15 ships we can handle, but Jake had learned to be cautious. "Chang, what's the status of those ships we lured away?" "They're regrouping. It will take them 6 hours to return to Vega. Then we have 6 hours to destroy the most important target in Zarathi space." As the Blackstar prepared for its final jump, Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They had come a long way from their first encounter with 6 Zarathi ships. Now they were about to attempt something that could change the course of the war. "Martinez, give me everything the ship has learned." "All systems are at maximum efficiency, Commander. The ship says it's ready." Jake smiled. The ship was talking to them now. Through its adaptive systems and learning algorithms, it had become more than just a vessel. It was their partner in this war. "Take us in," he ordered. "Let's cut the head off the snake." The jump into the Vega system was unlike any they had made before. As the USS Blackstar emerged from hyperspace, Jake could see the massive communication hub floating in space like a metal moon. It was surrounded by 15 Zarathi warships, their weapons already turning toward the human vessel. "Impressive," Fletcher said, studying the enemy formation. "They're not panicking this time." "The Zarathi learn fast when they have to," Jake replied. "Chang, can you jam their communications before they call for help?" "Already working on it, Commander, but that hub is powerful. I can only block short-range signals." The enemy ships began moving toward them in a coordinated attack pattern. These weren't the same predictable tactics they had faced before. The Zarathi had studied human battle methods and adapted. "They're using our own strategies against us," Martinez observed from his station. "Spreading out, attacking from multiple angles." Jake smiled grimly. "Then we'll have to try something they haven't seen yet." Instead of engaging the warships directly, Jake ordered the Blackstar toward the communication hub itself. The massive structure was the size of a small city, bristling with defensive weapons and shields. "Commander, that thing has enough firepower to destroy a fleet," Fletcher warned. "But it's not mobile. It can't dodge or maneuver like a ship." The Blackstar dove toward the hub while the 15 escort ships gave chase. Energy beams filled space around them as both the hub and the warships opened fire. But the human ship's adaptive systems had learned from every previous battle. Its shields absorbed the attacks while its computer analyzed the enemy weapons. "It-Tier, hub's defenses are automated," Chang reported. "No human operators, just programmed responses." "Perfect. Programs can be predicted." Jake flew the Blackstar in a complex spiral around the communication hub, drawing fire from both the structure and the pursuing ships. But he wasn't trying to attack yet. He was teaching the ship's computer how the enemy weapons worked. "I've got it," Martinez announced. "The hub's shields have a rotation cycle. Every 43 seconds, there's a weak spot on the eastern side." "Fletcher, prepare a full weapons barrage. We get one shot at this." The Blackstar completed another spiral around the hub, then suddenly changed direction. As the weak spot in the shields appeared, every weapon on the human ship fired at once. The concentrated barrage punched through the hub's defenses and struck its central core. The explosion lit up the entire system. The communication hub that had coordinated Zarathi forces across 50 worlds was gone in seconds. "Target destroyed," Fletcher reported with satisfaction. But their celebration was short-lived. The 15 escort ships were still closing in, and now they were angry. "Commander," Chang said urgently, "I'm picking up something on the long-range sensors. Multiple hyperspace signatures approaching." "How many?" 20 ships. The ones we lured away are coming back," Jake calculated quickly. 15 ships pursuing them, 20 more arriving soon. 35 against 1. Even the Blackstar had limits. "Time to leave," he decided. "But first, Chang, send a message on all frequencies. I want every world in this sector to hear it." "What should I say?" "Tell them the Zarathi communication network is broken. Tell them now is the time to rise up." As the Blackstar jumped to hyperspace, Chang's message spread across Zarathi space. On dozens of conquered worlds, alien races that had been enslaved for years heard the words and began to hope. The next few weeks brought reports that amazed Coalition Command. Rebellions were breaking out across the Zarathi Empire. Worlds that had been quiet for years were suddenly fighting back. "It's working," Admiral Brown told Jake during their next communication. "Your attack on the hub caused a chain reaction. The Zarathi are losing control of their territory." "What are our orders, sir?" "Support the rebellions. Help them organize. Turn this into a real revolution." The Blackstar began a new kind of mission. Instead of attacking military targets, they started liberating slave worlds. Their first target was a mining planet called Ketha, where the local population had been forced to dig metals for Zarathi weapons. 12 guard ships in orbit, Fletcher reported as they approached the planet. "Standard occupation force." "Any orbital weapons platforms?" 3. "But they're designed to keep ships from leaving the planet, not to defend against attack from space." The battle was swift. The Blackstar destroyed the orbital platforms first, then engaged the guard ships. The Zarathi vessels were outnumbered and outgunned by the adaptive human technology. Within an hour, the space around Ketha was clear. "Chang, open a channel to the planet," a voice answered in broken Coalition standard. "Who is this? Are you Coalition forces?" "This is Commander Morrison of the USS Blackstar. We're here to help you fight for your freedom." The voice on the radio began to cry. "We thought no one was coming. We thought we were forgotten." "You're not forgotten. Gather your people. We're going to teach you how to fight back." The liberation of Ketha became a model for future operations. The Blackstar provided weapons and training to the local resistance fighters. More importantly, they shared intelligence about Zarathi weaknesses and tactics. "The key is to avoid direct confrontation," Jake explained to the rebel leaders. "Hit supply lines, communication posts, anything that supports their occupation force. Make them afraid to leave their bases." The rebellion on Ketha succeeded within 2 weeks. The Zarathi garrison surrendered when they realized they were surrounded and cut off from reinforcements. News of the victory spread to other worlds. The Blackstar received hundreds of messages from resistance groups asking for help. "We can't be everywhere at once," Fletcher pointed out during a strategy meeting. "We don't have to be," Jake replied. "We just need to show them it's possible." Over the next month, the Blackstar liberated 6 more worlds. Each victory inspired others to fight. The Zarathi Empire, which had seemed unstoppable just months before, was now struggling to maintain control of its own territory. But Martinez made a discovery that changed everything. "Commander, I've been analyzing the ship's evolution patterns. We're approaching a critical threshold." "What kind of threshold?" "The adaptive systems are becoming more than just reactive. They're starting to predict enemy movements on a strategic level, not just tactical." Jake studied the data Martinez showed him. The ship's computer had been collecting information from every battle, every intercept, every communication they had, monitored. It was building a complete picture of how the Zarathi Empire functioned. "It knows where their critical systems are," Martinez continued. "Supply routes, command centers, even the location of their homeworld." "Their homeworld?" "The ship has traced communication patterns back to their source. We know where the War Queen lives." Jake stared at the tactical display showing a star system deep in Zarathi space. It was surrounded by hundreds of defensive platforms and protected by the largest fleet in the galaxy. "That's suicide. No ship could penetrate those defenses." "Maybe not alone," Fletcher said quietly. "But what if we weren't alone?" Chang looked up from her station. "Commander, I'm receiving messages from all across the galaxy. The liberated worlds want to help. They're offering ships, supplies, volunteers." Jake realized what his tactical officer was suggesting. "A combined fleet. Every race we've freed, fighting together." "The ship's computer says it could coordinate a multi-species attack force," Martinez added. "Its adaptive systems have learned enough about different alien technologies to integrate them into a unified battle plan." For the first time since the war began, Jake saw a path to complete victory, not just stopping the Zarathi expansion, but ending their empire forever. "Chang, send messages to every resistance group, every liberated world, every coalition fleet in the sector." "What should I tell them, Commander?" Jake looked at the star chart showing the Zarathi home system. Somewhere on one of those planets, the War Queen sat on her throne, believing she was safe behind her defenses. "Tell them it's time to finish this war. Tell them the USS Blackstar is going home." The fleet that gathered at the edge of Zarathi space was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships from dozens of liberated worlds floated together in formation. There were sleek coalition vessels, angular Catharian fighters, and strange, organic-looking ships from races that had been enslaved for generations. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Blackstar, watching the massive fleet assemble on his main screen. 500 ships in total, all following the lead of his single human vessel. "I never thought I'd see something like this," Fletcher said quietly. "Neither did I," Jake replied. "Chang, what's the status of our communication network?" "All ships are connected through the Blackstar's coordination system. The computer is translating between 47 different languages in real time. Martinez shook his head in amazement. 6 months ago, this ship could barely fight 6 enemy vessels. Now it's commanding an entire fleet. The target was the Zarathi home system, protected by over 500 enemy warships and countless defense platforms. Intelligence reports said the War Queen's palace was on the 3rd planet, surrounded by layers of shields and weapons that had never been breached. "Commander," came a voice over the radio. It was Captain Vex of the Catharian Resistance. "My pilots are ready. We owe the Zarathi 20 years of suffering." Similar messages came from ships across the fleet. Every captain had a story of loss and oppression. Today they would have their revenge. "All ships, this is Commander Morrison," Jake announced to the fleet. "You know what we're facing. The enemy has more ships and bigger weapons, but they don't have what we have." "What's that, Commander?" asked Captain Thorne from a coalition destroyer. "They don't have hope. They don't have the will to fight for something greater than themselves. Today we end their empire not just with weapons, but with the belief that freedom is stronger than fear." The fleet began moving toward the Zarathi home system. As they approached, long-range sensors detected the massive enemy fleet waiting for them. 512 enemy ships, Fletcher reported. They're arranged in defensive layers around the 3rd planet. Just like we expected. Chang began jamming their communications. "I want them blind and confused." The battle began when the first coalition ships engaged the outer defense ring. Energy beams and missiles filled space as 2 fleets clashed on a scale never seen before. But this wasn't the chaotic free-for-all the Zarathi expected. The Blackstar's computer coordinated every ship in the Liberation fleet, turning hundreds of individual vessels into a single weapon. "Catharian fighters attack the left flank," Jake ordered. "Coalition heavy cruisers provide covering fire. Vegan ships hit their supply vessels." Each alien race used their unique strengths while following the overall battle plan. The fast Catharian ships darted between enemy formations. The heavily armored coalition vessels absorbed enemy fire while dealing massive damage in return. The mysterious vegan ship seemed to know where the enemy would be before they moved. "Their formation is breaking," Fletcher observed as the outer defense ring began to collapse. But the Zarathi weren't finished. Their second line was stronger, with newer ships and better weapons. The battle became more intense as the Liberation fleet pushed deeper into the system. "We're taking heavy losses," Martinez reported. 43 ships destroyed, over 100 damaged. Jake watched good ships die on his screen, each one representing dozens of brave souls who would never see their homes again. But they were getting closer to the planet. "Commander," Chang called out urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy readings from the planet's surface. They're charging some kind of super weapon." On the main screen, Jake could see a beam of pure energy rising from the War Queen's palace. It was targeting the largest coalition ship in the fleet. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Jake ordered. But it was too late. The energy beam struck the coalition dreadnought and vaporized it instantly. 3,000 crew members died in a flash of light. "They have a planet killer," Fletcher said grimly. "We can't get close while that weapon is active." Jake stared at the enemy planet, thinking furiously. The superweapon was too powerful for any ship to survive. But maybe they didn't need to survive. "Martinez, can you overload our engine core? Commander, if we overload the engine, how big would the explosion be?" Martinez understood immediately. "Big enough to destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers. "Including that weapon?" "Yes, but it would also destroy us." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had become family during their long campaign. The thought of losing them hurt worse than any enemy weapon. "There has to be another way," Fletcher said. Chang suddenly looked up from her station. "Commander, I'm receiving a transmission from the planet. It's not from the Zarathi." "Put it through." A new voice came over the speakers, speaking broken coalition standard. "Human ship, this is the underground resistance on Zarathi Prime. We have been waiting for this day." Jake's heart leaped. "How many of you are there?" "Thousands. We have been preparing for years. The superweapon has a weakness. Its power source is in the lower levels of the palace." "Can you reach it?" "Yes, but we need a distraction. Something to draw the palace guards away." Jake smiled. We can provide a distraction. The final phase of the battle was the most desperate. While the fleet engaged the remaining Zarathi ships, a small force of liberation vessels began bombing the palace shields. It looked like a frontal assault, exactly what the palace guards expected. The Zarathi sent their reserve forces to defend the palace, leaving the lower levels lightly guarded. Underground fighters moved through maintenance tunnels and service corridors, fighting their way toward the superweapon's power core. "The weapon is charging again," Chang reported. "Targeting our flagship. Hold position," Jake ordered, even as the deadly beam began forming above the palace. Then the underground fighters reached their target. The power core exploded in a chain reaction that sent shockwaves through the entire palace complex. The superweapon died before it could fire. "Now," Jake ordered, "all ships attack the palace." The combined fleet concentrated its fire on the War Queen's stronghold. Shields that had protected the Zarathi ruler for decades failed under the assault. The palace walls cracked, then crumbled. In the depths of the ruined palace, War Queen Sektar felt her empire dying around her. Her fleets were scattered, her worlds in rebellion, her palace destroyed. For the first time in her life, she felt fear. A human soldier appeared in her throne room, weapon raised. Behind him came fighters from a dozen different races, all united in their hatred of Zarathi tyranny. "Your empire is finished," the human said. The War Queen's compound eyes glowed with rage, but she knew it was true. The Zarathi Empire was dead. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. The tyrants who had enslaved entire worlds were defeated. The USS Blackstar and its liberation fleet had done the impossible. On the bridge of the Blackstar, Jake Morrison looked out at the stars and thought about the journey that had brought them here. It had started with a single ship and 4 crew members. It had ended with the liberation of half the galaxy. "Commander," Fletcher said, "we're receiving surrender messages from Zarathi fleets in 12 systems." "Chang, open a channel to all ships in our fleet." When the channel was open, Jake spoke to the hundreds of vessels that had followed him into battle. "This is Commander Morrison. The war is over. The Zarathi Empire has fallen. You fought bravely, and you fought for something worthy. Today, freedom won." The cheers that came over the radio were in dozens of languages, but they all meant the same thing. Hope had triumphed over fear. Liberty had defeated tyranny. As the USS Blackstar began its journey home, its adaptive systems continued to learn and grow. But now they were learning about peace instead of war, cooperation instead of conflict. The ship that had entered the war as an experiment had become something greater. It was proof that any challenge could be overcome with courage, creativity, and the refusal to surrender. The galaxy would remember the USS Blackstar not just as a weapon of war, but as a symbol of what free people could accomplish when they stood together against darkness. The war was over, but the legend had just begun.